So I think when I drag the chat thing, that that's what keeps moving my webcam, I think. Anyway, hello, I'm live, right? Sure looks that way. Why, if I had a guess, I'd say I am indeed live. And in living color, mic works, mic works. Check, check. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. Booyah. I'm going to rank all the Duel Monster Era formats today. That's LOB through Warrior format. Those are the formats that are, defined. I mean, you could specify, like, you could be, like, real granular or you could be real macro with what formats to include. So, like, if you see someone else who makes a list like this, it may be different. That's just the way it's going to be. But we'll get time for people to come on by. The says in my Discord that I am live. So that's exciting. Hope enough people join today. I think it should be a fun stream. Hopefully not too terribly long, but we're here for a fun time, not for a long time. Ain't that the story of Janjo? The Janjo Zone. But yeah, we'll give time for people to, like, show up. We're not going to start immediately, methinks. But currently I have, and we'll switch over maybe like 5 after. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 formats I have chosen, which is a good amount. And hopefully everyone at home is having a good day themselves. Remember to stay hydrated, and remember for posture checks now and again, not, in perpetuity, naturally. I was actually originally going to do start the Series 5 tier lists, but I think we're going to do that next stream. Now, I will be away next week. That's partially why I'm doing this one, just to get something that's more, like, general. But then the following week, we'll probably start Series 5. We'll see. But yeah, I think in about 3 minutes we'll head on over to the normal page to start ranking this. I don't know how it's going to turn out. A lot of it's going to be kind of vibes, right? It's kind of hard to just be like, oh, this is statistically better than, like, X format. But sometimes X just going to give it to you, you know? And if you're enjoying this stream or want to help support the channel in a very free and simple way, consider just liking it. YouTube likes all sorts of engagement. And I have to do my part to, like, point it out. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, methinks. I also hope you all been enjoying the Toon Legacy this week, this Toon Week. I think it's been pretty fun so far. We got 2 more. It's going out Thursday and Friday. And it should be a fun week. Hope you're all having a good day out there, and wherever you're doing. Whether you're watching this live or you're doing this IRL. So I don't know if you can hear that. That's the AC unit right outside my apartment. Just every so often makes this loud, high-pitched scream. And I actually talked to the maintenance people like literally yesterday because like they were out back and I was outside, just saw them like, hey, let me just chat with them for a minute. And they're like, yeah, it's just the AC units. I'm like, I don't think it is. I had a video of them. Like, this is like the sound it's making. I was like, I guess I'm just cursed. Problem is I'm living in a bedroom that's right outside a bunch of AC units, I suppose. But I guess you get used to it. Makes recording audio kind of annoying. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. All right, but let's switch over. Wow. For those interested too, I also have a donation goal down below for a Pokemon Yellow playthrough that will be live streamed. If we hit that goal, it's only $20, so if we hit it, that's more free content for you all, in a sense, anyway. So here are the formats I have. Currently, I just have the basic A or S through D. SAB CD. Again, you could be real granular with the formats, or you could be real macro with it. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm essentially doing like the main formats and then the ones I find like vaguely interesting. So we got Yugi Kaiba. If we should put this in order, probably I think. So we got Blue Eyes, which is like the LOB Yugi Kaiba. Then we had Critter format. Then was Mecha format, which is basically Critter plus TP1, which I think is a really fascinating format, personally. That's why I'm including it. Then we got Treasure. Then we got Imperial. Then Android. Then we got Joey Pegasus. Then Fiber. Then Yatta. Then Scientist. Then Vampire, then Amsterdam, Chaos, and Warrior. So this is the spread we're doing. Spread them. And yes, I actually made all these little things today in went in Photoshop. Same thing with like my thumbnails for each of the streams, but first time I did something like this specifically for a tier list. So, there you go. Maybe I can post like a zip file of these in like my Discord or something, which you're not part of, the Janitor Tombs Discord. It's down below. You can join that. Pretty chill server. Let's talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! And other things. So yeah, no rush for this thing or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know because how this ranking is necessarily going to turn out because, well, as if what constitutes like S, A, or like B and C, and like D. D we can just imply like, hey, this is the worst format, and S that's like this format needs to be like legitimately played, right? If we're putting stuff like Goat, Edison, Hat, like the notable Time Wizard formats, like an S tier, then you could put something like I don't know, like Dark Strike format, or some people might put like Pepe format, like the low tier. Because I don't know if any formats in the DM era are necessarily bad. There are some interesting ones and some ones that just aren't that interesting, but not inherently like poor quality gameplay. Because really what it comes down to is the gameplay, right? Because it's not fair to say like, hey, Vampire is better than Yugi Kaiba because there's just more cards. And while that is like a factor to a degree, I mean, meta kind of always funnels down to, certain cards, certain decks, right? It's like a fighting game, right? You're not going to see every character. The cream will rise to the top regardless. You're not going to see half the card pool in Edison format. Right? That's just not going to happen. So I don't know if we should go in order of the formats or just start like throwing stuff on here and then we just adjust as needed. That's definitely a possibility. Hindsight, when I did like the set tier list, I think next time I do that, I might do these like custom images for that. I'm not gonna do it for the individual sets because that would take forever, and that would be kind of pointless, honestly. But I like the boutique look of these. And of course, if there's any formats you feel like should be on here, definitely let me know. We could take some formats out if we really wanted to, if we wanted to be like the main formats, right? Like mecha format, very niche. I mean, even Joey Pegasus to a degree. I know more people play that than like LOB or mecha, but still like you're kind of like an in-between format. Only adds like a couple cards. And Fiber's kind of like a weird one too. Amsterdam's just also like in a weird spot. Warrior is kind of like the weird one for me because it is like technically the first Series 4 format, but not like GX era. I think people really consider GX to be like Flaming Eternity, right? Post Yugi on the cover. Like maybe the Lost Millennium. Even though, Series 4, but DM era and like Duel Monsters era and GX eras is separate from like, Series 3, Series 4. At least like at the moment. Certain series and sets kind of like bleed over. But, the general public does view Warrior as like the last of the DM era. Hey, Zacharoni and Cheese, what's up? My friend and I each built LOD release day format, April 2003 ban list, and all of the cards at 3. We had a lot of fun. Oh, nice. Yeah, that sounds kind of crazy. I'm not including any of the like unlimited formats on here. Just because like I always feel like they're kind of just like I don't know what my like wording. I feel like I've talked about these like kind of formats in like other places before, where they are just more like like these are like the formats are kind of like more I guess defined than just like hey here's like I mean mecha. I guess you can look at a set like Blue Eyes or mecha format. As kind of they have like a new set and you just play with those cards, right? Like with the unlimited stuff, it feels like it's kind of I don't know, maybe like against the spirit of like a designated format. Because a lot of times those are like core sets, right? It's like something like LOB can get away with it because it's the very first set. Without that, you have nothing. Where something like Mecha and Joey Pegasus, it is just like a side set that like boosts that current format. One that's like defined by like for me, if you want to be like a true to form format, I would say it's based off of a list, whatever list exists at that time. So like if you want to say Series 1, right, you could argue, the first list, maybe something right before that, like a pre-list Yu-Gi-Oh. The first list for Tokyo Dome, and then one at like the end for like the Tokyo Big Site. But generally, like I look at lists specifically. But yeah, like if you were like super niche, like yeah, we would have like LOD and uh, MRD and PGD and all those. Like we would have the like the Amsterdam format with the list, like the advanced Amsterdam format. Because like the August 2004 list was like kind of like a weird thing. Or even like treasure format, right? You could have one that's like you could have one that includes tournament pack 2 with morphing jar, right? You could have imperial format that is literally just Pharaoh Servant and not include like McDonald's promos and some other video game promos. So you could be like real niche on like a topic like this, but I don't want to go too niche because I feel like that just kind of like muddies the water, you know. And you know, this is my list. You know, other people and like their list, whatever they make. As I mentioned, like it's always going to be different in some capacity, regardless of where they put the stuff on the tiers, right? Like I could have just stuck to like the pure lists. Though even with that, I do like to include LOB in that anyway, just because it was like the first time you could play Yu-Gi-Oh. So really, it's mostly the list. Just there's only like Megaform is kind of just argues their reworks. I think there was like a, well, I think there was like a list for Joey Pegasus, right? That's why I love physical games. You can create with your friends however you want. Yeah, that's the fun of it, right? You just do whatever you want. That's the fun of the game. Yeah, there was the May 2003 list. And that included like the Joey Pegasus stuff. As well as Heavy Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster. So really it's just kind of mecha format, but I don't know. I like talking about it because I think it's kind of like it's like Critter DLC. And I don't really get the chance to like talk about it too often. That's what. Have you played with any of the OC checklists you've shown on your channel? Not really. I haven't really gone around to like play it like online or anything like that. Uh, just due to time. Like most of my time is just spent like making the videos. Actually, originally I was gonna do dual videos with the decks. I did buy like a bunch of Volume 1 cards, right? Like not the prints, but you know, cards from Volume 1 with the idea to do like mirror match kind of things, but it was getting really expensive. it, you know, and I only have so much money. And those are just like vanilla cards, right? Like almost all vanilla cards. And so that kind of fell to the wayside, and I ended up doing that. And you know, just it's hard finding like a good person to play IRL with, and people just don't watch like dual videos on my channel anyway. You know, on top of my channel already getting like kind of low views. Yeah, I think dual videos are better for channels that are focused in on it. Because that's what people go there to see, right? People like dual videos on dual related channels. People like deck profiles and like deck profile related channels. And people tend to like, you know, like Janjo Zone for you know, like OCG and kind of like retro stuff. Sometimes. Sometimes they watch videos and sometimes they don't. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. Like I've tried dual videos multiple times on the channel and like I keep getting the same result. So, like, unless I did like a specific, let's say like a series one thing and like really stuck to it, but that's a big commitment for something that I've like seen results on how they turn out. Whereas deck profiles, they can range, but they're generally like okay enough to like justify doing deck profiles. Like once I finish the series one, I do want to have an idea. I do have an idea to do like a sort of restructuring of deck profiles. I don't think they'll be like a once a month thing like they've been. Maybe just once in a while. I have been thinking about kind of restructuring my upload schedule lately. Like I still have stuff made until like July. I want to say is like my current backlog of videos. That is not freaking the freaking beep is not just the AC units. Those main people are crazy. But let's get started, shall we? Let's get started this list. I think. Um, I feel like it might be good to start out with like the winners and the losers here. Now, for my money's worth, I think there are two S tier formats that I think everyone should play, and I think that is Yada format because it's the first world championship. I think it has a good list, has some like really nice balanced metagame, right? There's not too many like crazy power cards. Yeah, Yada is around, but in retrospect, it's not as busted as historically people like viewed it as. Uh, like a lot of fun decks. It goes up to Pharaonic Guardian. And yeah, there were a lot of good cards, right? You got Yada, you got Ring of Destruction. If we're looking specifically at Pharaonic Guardian, right? Ring of Destruction was like a big card. Mirage and Nightmare was what like a Legacy of Darkness, Pharaonic Guardian, like around that time. So you still had like a lot of crazy power cards with no ban list, just a limited list. But I think like the gameplay is like it fixes a lot of the issues Android had. Adds more spice to the pool than like Fiber does. And I think it's just like a really good spot for a top tier retro format. And I kind of wish people tried it out more because that's why I did my so far one and only tournament of Yada formats. I do plan on doing another tournament soon. Should probably jump on that. Originally, it was gonna be like pretty soon, but just setting up stuff has been taking a little while. The other one, the other formats, and any guesses what you think that might be? If you ask me, I think the other S tier format of the two, I would argue, is Critter format because Critter is similar to Yada, right? Just a lot of fun gameplay in it, a lot of really good decks, a lot of crazy cards, honestly, with a pretty decent limited list. And from what we've seen, like nothing has quite broken the meta, even though there's been a lot of great cards, like a lot of great decks, right? Even stuff with like Exodia and Cannon Burn. We still have yet to see them like break the format, which is really cool. A lot of good balanced decks with a pretty high level of power. And it only has three sets. I mean, I guess four if you want to count both the starter decks, but LOB, Metal Raiders, and starter deck Yugi and Kaiba. So I think it shows something with a format like that, where it has not a lot of cards, but still manages to be like a crazy fun format. But if I had to like label between Critter and Yada, I'd probably go with Yada. I just feel like just the extra cards in it just give you a more Yu-Gi-Oh experience, for lack of a better name. Whereas Critter, you are restricted to Metal Raiders era Yu-Gi-Oh, which I really like, but you can kind of feel that restriction in the card pool and creativity with what you could do compared to Yada. Hey, Chaos Prime, what's up? In the DM era, wasn't Jinzo the best boss monster pre-Chaos? Yeah, I would argue so. You had some close stuff. Summon Scald, good attack. Uh, Vampire Lord, people tried out. I mean, historically, you definitely saw Vampire Lord, and you also saw stuff like Barrel Dragon and Blue Eyes White Dragon just for big monsters. Hades was all right. Like he had his own benefits for sure, but it wasn't like as good as Jinzo, and it wasn't as strong as Summon Skull. So it was like a weird, awkward spot. And you couldn't special summon it, which wasn't particularly great. The Series 1 pre-tribute era count. Count towards what specifically? This is TCG only. I should specify. If that wasn't clear by the list. We're not talking about OCG stuff in this. Yeah, like Hades could not be searched out by Witch. It couldn't be special summoned from the graveyard. It could be Jinzo, but like, are you really going off of that? Like, you could play it in Fiend deck. It was good in Fiend decks because it was a Fiend and it still could do stuff, which was nice. Like, I could see myself doing a Series 1 format list. That's not a bad idea. Series 1 format ranked. Maybe that's something I'll have to do. Hey, maybe when I'm back in 2 weeks, maybe that's what we'll be doing instead. Thanks for the idea. In terms of like bad formats, again, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. What is baffling is how Ultimate Dragon never came to TCG during the DM era. I have a theory as to why that is. My theory is that I think they knew that Cyber Sign was going to be like an SJC prize card, and they didn't want the Megamorph OTK to be a thing until like after the fact. So that's my theory why they waited long to release Blue Ice Ultimate. Because it is odd that it took them that long. But like there had to have been a reason. They wouldn't have waited that long to print out like just this really good card. Because then like people would be running that during like the like GOAT format, The Meteor Black Dragon, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's just because they probably didn't have, they had to spread out releases of like the specialty stuff. And, some things may have just fell to the wayside. It's like Magician of Black Chaos is another card. Especially when you have Dark Magician Girl around. I mean, Shine Dragon came out because of like the movie. That makes sense. Magician of Black Chaos, like that, probably should have been like a tournament pack card. Or like a video game promo. But I don't think they really did any do any rituals for the video game promos? I don't think so. But I don't know where they would have released Meteor Black Dragon. Again, it could have been a tournament pack or like a hobby league or something, but I don't know if I necessarily see that. Like a dark beginning would have been cool. The Griffin Wing and Pegasus deck, I still don't understand because that was actually in the OCG Metal Raiders set, so they could have threw that in the TCG Metal Raiders, but they didn't, and they threw it in a set. I'm pretty sure they did it because of in Pegasus because Harpy's Feather Duster came out around that time, right? It was the one of the video game promos, so I think they just wanted to line it up with that, but I don't know why they just didn't have Griffin Wing released beforehand. It's a weird thing. Hey, Aegis, what's up? Magician Black Chaos should have been a promo card for Memory since it's literally on the cover art. It should have. So or some video game promo. But I think maybe it's because it's a ritual and they didn't want to have one of the other cards be a ritual spell. Uh, because remember in the OCG they also had the game guides that they threw ritual like other promo cards in. And Magician of Black Chaos too. Like when they released Magician of Black Chaos in the OCG, it didn't come with the ritual spell. That came in like a bit afterwards. Honestly, maybe even just like because we got Blackluster Soldier in the Yugi Evolution deck. So we probably wouldn't have gotten Magician Black Chaos and then. But we got a lot of rituals in like Tournament Pack 2. Right? So that's why I'm kind of feeling like a tournament pack. Right? Maybe like 3. Because I think 3 was kind of the last one where we got like real good unique stuff because that's the one we got Needleworm. So we could have got Magician Black Chaos in a tournament pack. Probably Prince Soldier because of Envoy. I think part of it was just to have like a cool card for Yugi's deck. Because the Kaiba one also had Paladin of White Dragon, even though that had a Magician's Force print. Because remember the Volume 2 Yugi structure deck. That did not include Blackluster Soldier. And the original one didn't have Blackluster Soldier in it. No, but it did have Magician Black Chaos. So if anything, if we're going off of the OCG and their Yugi structure decks, it would have made sense for Magician Black Chaos over Blackluster Soldier. Yeah, in terms of Hollow at Kaiser Source and Shadow Spell, but it did have like a ritual card, which I mean, yeah, I do agree that I think Paladin White Dragon should have been a Hollow, but they probably didn't because I think it was a Hollow of Magician's Force. Yeah, starter deck Yugi Evolution that was 2004, so yeah, it was probably to tie it in with Envoy at the beginning. It's not a bad assessment. Yeah, the Kaiba stuff was just really odd, especially when we got both LOB arts of like Blue Eyes and the other. I mean, we should have got Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon in that, but I think it's because they're still starter decks and not structure decks. If they're structure decks, I would not be surprised if we would have gotten like Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon in that because we did get that in the OCG. Yeah, but Joey's fusions were weak, and also with Joey, you could kind of get away with like his cards, whereas Kaiba had Like, Blue Eyes Ultimate was pretty big. And you could get away with just having a Blue Eyes in his deck and be like, here's the Kaiba deck. Here's a starter deck. But if you ask me, starter decks should include rituals and fusions. Like, let you know how the base mechanics for these things work, right? Include one of each card type. Right? Like, give me a continuous spell and continual magic and equip and X, Y, and Z. Yeah, rituals were coming soon. I actually took a picture of that for my in Toon Legacy. If you watch that, the second episode, I believe I show it off, the one that was uploaded Tuesday. I believe I show a picture of that because they do talk about rituals in there. Yeah, maybe that'll be like a cool video idea. Talk about like when certain cards should have been released. I'll put that in my video idea sheets. Like if we want to do like an extra DM format, but then with like when would these cards show up? Everyone is here. Any plans for a boss monster tier list in terms of meta relevance during its era? Probably not. I did do that tier list video with JDZ and AJT like years ago. With that got mixed receptions during it. But I don't plan on doing a. It's because it is kind of a nebulous concept. And I try to have, and like when I did that tier list back then, I try to have some sort of parameters for it, and it's kind of messy. But you know, never say never. Never say never. I feel like there are certain formats here that people don't really talk about, and I feel like it's not fair to say, hey, this format's like Amsterdam, for example, is bad because not many people play it. But it is a kind of a weird format because it's just chaos, but with ancient sanctuary. So we're like not getting like a ton of big cards that like nothing really impacts the meta. You know, we get what Monster Gate comes in that. Yeah, we get Monster Gate, Spell Economics, Zaborg, but it's nothing that really affects like the Power of Chaos format. Like you could argue, hey, it's just Chaos form both more cards. That's good. But then like does it ruin the purity of that like real crazy format? Drive me up the wall. If he like I don't know if you can hear that. You probably can. So it's like it's really hard to say for some of these formats. Like some of them I like, but I can acknowledge that they do have issues. Like I do really like Android format. Like Yugi Kaiba is a really fascinating one. If I remember correctly, Scientist was the biggest rival during Chaos format, and DD No Chaos was the biggest anti-meta deck. Yeah, that sounds about right. Like, there was stuff that other people tried out. I want to say, like, people try, like, some, like, water and, like, beast stuff, but it was nothing... Nothing was really worth worth running. Because essentially, like, do you have the chaos or not was kind of thing. Go Control was a big deck also around that time. As, like, you know, anti-chaos stuff. Yeah, Scientist, FTK. Like, Chaos Control was the big one. I feel like Blue Eyes format might be like a good C tier. I think Blue Eyes is a lot of fun. It's real crazy because everything's at 3, and even though there's not many cards, you get like triple Pot of Greed and Raigeki and Dark Hole, Monster Reborn, Swords of Revealing Light. But then you also had, you know, Exodia running around at 3 copies each. You got a lot of stall cards, right? A lot of defenders. You know, you got Swords, Giant Soldier Stone, Aquamador, and Spirit of the Harp. But then you also, you know, you had some fun decks, right? You had like your normal beatdown stuff with some interesting dynamics. You had like Sogen, which was kind of a fun little strategy. Exodia was literally unstoppable in LB format. Yeah, because that was before card destruction. And there's no hand rips other than that. Fusion was also kind of a deck around that time too. You know, like Flower Wolf and Gaia. It's a pretty fun format to watch, but like obviously Exodia kind of kills a lot of it. That's why I kind of like the format because of its like simplistic power in like all the good and bad ways. So I kind of want to put in like a C tier for that. Whereas something like Yugi Kaiba, I'm so torn between. Like I could definitely hear an argument for putting LLB in D. Yugi Kaiba was like that was like prime format in like 2020. Like it's a really fun format to play, but just like a few decks kill it. Like the stalled burn deck. It's such a it's like how Stein kind of ruined the Reaper format in GX era. But I think like a detox mirror match in Yugi Kaiba is so much fun. And there's a lot of really fun other kinds of decks around that. It's the kind of thing where like if you play it with a gentleman's agreement, it's a great format. But like once that's broken, it can get pretty unfun. Yeah, I don't think Pot Agreed's ever coming back outside of, you know, like a Genesis style thing. Yeah, it definitely needed Yugi Kaiba. I think some of the cards that honestly could have waited to release, like Summon Skull and Change of Heart, right? Metal Raiders was just around the corner. So it's really silly that it got some of these cards when it did. But at least we got card destruction like right away, which was great. On top of a lot of the other beaters, you know, Battle Locks and Law Jin. Like I kind of want to put this in B tier. I think if it wasn't for Stallburn, Stallburn, right? Not just Stall. It's been a while since I played it, admittingly. Stall Mill. You guys are Stall Mill and Stallburn. It is a very nostalgic format for me. It is technically the first format I've ever played in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, back when it was the new thing. Uh, but I think it has really fun gameplay, very chess-like. Because a lot of the cards are very much the same. You kind of know what your opponent's typically running if you're playing a similar deck, and so just the resource management is it's real enjoyable. While Lodging was the best level 4 vanilla for its time, beat over the walls. Yeah, that's kind of like the problem. I mean, you do have stop defense, but you have Maneater Bug, Summon Skull. That's why a lot of people like Summon Skull because it just beats over everything. But then you also have Wall of Illusion. Like, it's really too bad that we got so many defenders as fast as we did. And it makes sense not to have stronger monsters, right? Like, why would he get Goblin Attack Force right away? Or, I mean, even Jirai Gumo. And also we did have Fissures, Dark Hole, Raigeki. So we did have removal in the format, but there's only so much you can do. Only like so much you can push like at a time. Yeah, like the OCG Aquamador in the starter box. Kind of nutty. Though we did get a Giant Soldier Stone in Volume 3, I want to say, so it wasn't that much longer. I think same thing with Mystical Elf, like around that time. Android's another weird one because like that kind of feels. It kind of is a tier 0 format, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing because I think it also has a really fun, like rock paper scissors kind of metagame with like Bazoo, Kaiku, and Gemini Elf. Hmm. But the problem with something like that also is obviously, there's only so many different decks you can play. Like, you can't really play that many different decks. Like, yeah, they technically existed. Yes, this would include pre-errata Bazoo for Android format specifically. Because those were the prints that we got. It was very clear cut what they did, and that would not change until Yada format. Yada format would be the first format that fixes them. So Android, Joey Pegasus, and Fiber format. These three all included the original effects for Bazoo, Kaiku, and Skull Lair. Original effects as in original TCG translation. Mecha format, I think, is kind of an interesting one because yeah, it's essentially Critter Plus, but like it's really not as good as a format because Mechanical Chaser does kind of funnel things. It does create a really unique meta because you have Mechanical Chaser as well as you have like Umi kind of plays a factor into the meta for Chaser, and you have like other TP1 stuff, right? You have like some fusion substitute things and a couple other like interesting tech. Hey, Martin, what's up? Yeah, Kaiku could banish any card. Skull Lair could banish any card. Bazoo could banish any card. It was not specified. Tier list for other eras, probably. Honestly, like I was saying like way earlier that we might just jump into Series 5 sets, but like we could like I mean I've covered most eras of Yu-Gi-Oh. Like production wise, I'm done with Vrains. It's like if we wanted to, we could go like all the way up to like 2020. Probably won't, but we could definitely do stuff like GX, 5Ds. You know, maybe. I mean, maybe just go through as much as we want, really. But yeah, very very likely we could see that for sure. And then maybe we combine all them together. Possible. You let me know. Chaser, I am surprised how it was seeing Medex and how rare it was. Uh, I mean, like historically, you wouldn't see everyone like be running it. It is definitely more of a like a modernized kind of format. But it's the same thing. Like not everyone had the exact same decks, but like you know, you don't play these formats sealed if you're like typically playing them, unless you're doing something like very specific, like a special kind of case. I do own a TP1 mechanical chaser, so technically I can play with one. Actually, when Critter formats first started seeing play, it did include TP1. So I believe if you watch like early videos online of Critter format, it did include mechanical chaser. And same thing with Treasure with TP2. I've actually made videos of it with TP2 stuff, but now it's not played with that just because Morphing Jar is morphs the format kind of. But Mecha, it's always weird because like technically it should just be up with critters, critter with more. But I think just the few changes it does add, you could argue Mechanical Chaser ultimately takes away from some of the uniqueness from it because like more people are just going to be running like the kind of more beatdown style of deck. So I kind of want to put it above Blue Eyes because it still has critter gameplay, which is still inherently good. And Blue Eyes does have limitations of just being that first set. And also keep in mind with this list, I do have the right to change my opinion, whether it's like right now or a month from now. Nothing is set in stone. So if you agree or disagree with certain things, if you're watching like a VOD of this, just comment down below. But I'm like slowly whittling, not out of like, oh, I need to stretch this stream out, but like it's legitimately a hard list to make. In Series 1, Revolver Dragon and Songo were the strongest effect monsters that had effects, not the Moth or Guardian in some conditions. Technically, well, I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess I wouldn't technically really consider the Metal Morph cards as like effects because it is ultimately just summoning conditions. Songo actually wasn't great like on release because it did have a different effect. I guess it depends. Like by attack points wise, sure, you could argue, especially like Barrel Dragon. But effect monsters, I mean, obviously we had a lot of effect monsters by that point. But ones with power, yeah, it wasn't. We didn't really see too much. I mean, Barrel Dragon was pretty late. That was what volume 7 was it like very end. Yeah, because it wasn't like anything else really. Unless you want to do like a technically Thousand Eyes Restrict. But that was Series 2. So, never mind. Yeah, I mean, you could technically imply Cyberstein to get out, like, well, depending on the format. Guy the Dragon Champion, Black Skull Dragon. Like, Black Skull Dragon would have been the strongest one you could get out. And that's 3200 attack. But yeah, Scientist is a definitely different than Stein. Imperial, I think, is pretty fun. Doesn't see enough play. I think Treasure might be one of the weaker formats, but I think I think all these have an interesting metagame. Yeah, Meteor, Black Dragon, and Blue Eyes Ultimate, I don't think count towards like the playable card pool. Yeah, Treasure is hand rip format, but everyone had it. But it does have some like interesting decks. I think like just a lot of the like recruiter kind of decks was like pretty popular. Germ Burn. There was like a Flash Assailant deck around that time too. But hand destruction was definitely the like popular thing. Yeah, painful choice. You just dump like all your all your hand rips. But that does follow the 2002 list, though. So I'm just looking at the list now, which does limit Painful Choice, the Treasures, Snatch Seal, and Upstart Goblin, and Cyberjar. So, like, while not everything, it does hit some things. Yeah, like Tomato Control is like the big deck. I mean, essentially, it takes what like Mecha format was kind of starting and just gives more power cards. So it's just a better Mecha format, really. But it does have its own flavor with all the new cards like in it, obviously, because it's a whole new set. Hey, CS, what's up? See the new announcement for the Series 2 structure deck reprints? Yeah, I think you showed them my Discord, right? Or talking more than just the three, because it's just the three, right? Yeah. We need to get they're the volume 1 or the volume 2 decks. I think Obsidian Pegasus, and then I think eventually I think like America one would be cool. Yeah, I feel like treasure format's probably one of the lesser formats. Because it is like kind of the same deck. It's just recruiters. And a couple other like interesting decks, right? You got like Relinquish, Germburn, stuff like that. Yeah, I really hope we get those OCG decks here. I think it'd be cool to just import them in some capacity. Hey, cards. Cards are fun. Like format library has both tomato control and recruiter control, but it's really just recruiters might have like giant rats in it, but like structurally they're kind of the same decks. It's like I feel like treasure might be one of the lesser formats. I don't know. This list is hard, man. This list is hard. Yeah, I mean, we do have like high rarity stuff of you know, varying degrees anyway, like Raigeki Break and Pyramid Turtle. Black Root Drago is like a much needed one. I do have already have like a copy of Black Root Drago, but it's definitely one of those synchros that needed a reprint for sure. Do I would love to get reprinted? Cosmic Fortress Golgar, I believe it's named, like the alien synchro. It, it that thing needs a reprint because I think it'd be fun to build an alien deck, but I'm not paying those prices for the because you kind of need like 2-3 copies of Golgar, but you can't like they're expensive. I think Warrior format's one of the better formats. Hey, maybe it's time you get some delinquent duos. I think Warrior format might be up there. I feel comfortable putting Warrior in A. It's essentially just like a weird alternate GOAT format. Yeah, Snatch Seal missing an eye. That sounds interesting. Yeah, I don't think I have any like misprints aside from like just some slight like movement of like maybe like foils. Yeah, I don't think the cards because Substitute wasn't like it was reprinted not that long ago, like a year or two. Because I remember I had in one of my reprint wish list videos on my Patreon. I think. Also, an hour in, just want to re-mention we do have a dono goal down there for a Pokemon Yellow playthrough. So if y'all want to see that, considering donating what you can helps out the channel, and you get more content for it. Yeah, Shape Snatch is definitely like a meme one. I'm surprised you haven't seen like a Marinfin reprint. Because I know that one's like a popular meme card in Japan. You got sleeves. Where do I want to put Chaos format? I feel like Chaos format is it's such like a blowout format. Like games end so quick with it because of BLS and CED. Like because I've played it, it's definitely it's not that fun. Like it's fascinating, but it kind of just feels like where Yada you have like the Yada lock and you kind of there's ways to kind of mess around with that. Chaos is just that but way worse. Yeah, Sixth Sense is really cool. So we only had the one print of it. I think I have two copies of that. Well, Boku, I've definitely wanted a higher rarity of for a while, so I'm very excited for both of those. I'm fine with no Megatons as long as we get generally good products. I think that's like the big thing. Rank based on health or power. Not power. I would say like general like enjoyment of the format, like good versus bad. Because power, yeah, chaos would be like S tier, but didn't get a hollow reprint because of Kevin Tour. What did he say about it? I think the highest rarity I have is like a shatter foil. I want to say. Maybe like a mosaic, something like that. Yeah, if it was like power, I mean blue eyes. Like blue eyes, chaos, and Amsterdam would probably be like an S tier. He said it was a bad card. Nah, he doesn't know what he's thinking. It's okay though. It happens. Yeah, no, this is based off of just general enjoyment of the you know of the format. He probably thought Maxi was good. I mean, he also got us King of Skull Servants, so you know, count your blessings, I guess. I feel like Android. I kind of want to put it like there, an Abyss Dweller. No, Shockmaster is a totally fine card, not problematic in any sort of way. I think Android format's kind of similar to Yu-Gi Kaiba, where I really like the mirror matches in it, even though they don't leave like a ton of room for like other decks. And you could definitely see the issues with the format, but I do really like the metagame of it. So I kind of want to put that like by Yu-Gi Kaiba. I'm kind of considering putting Mecha and Blue Eyes down a tier. I don't know. I do think Blue Eyes should get a page on Format Library, though. Just throwing that out there. Yeah, Max C. Like, there was a lot of cards that came out that weren't played on release that would become powerful, whether not long after or like way after. That's kind of just like a lot of Yu Gi Oh! Like, a tour guide was tail end of 5Ds. Not played at all, but as soon as like Z's comes out, immediately staple. Yeah, when Shifter came out, it wasn't played that much. It was kind of like the weird one. Like people knew it was good, but it just wasn't really like it didn't fit in the meta, especially when you compare it to the other cards from those tins, right? Nibiru and Dark Ruler No More. Dark Ruler No More is also like kind of like the second strongest of those. I mean, obviously, Dimensional Shifter would get really powerful in Thunder Dragons, and Nibiru was just a huge card. Was it Pineapple? Or was it Naturia? Oh, what was it? Was it Bamboo Shoot? The one that was like everyone was saying was going to be like so busted. I talked about this in one of my Yu-Gi-Oh history videos. I don't know if it was one that's been uploaded yet or not. Right, a little side thing of like hyped cards. Might have been Bamboo Shoot. Obelisk the Tormentor was another one of those cards. Very hyped. But then like didn't really see play. Ship of Theseus, or the sea monster of Theseus. That was another one. Overhyped. Obelisk did see play in a Speed Duel though, I believe. One the like in the Battle City format. I think Ancient Leaf also was like really hyped when people thought that they're gonna like Konami was gonna up the life points, but that card was already out. Only God card with targeting protection. It's a big guy, which makes sense why it was good in Speed Duel when it could just punch through stuff. It actually reminds me, I do need to complete some more uh, pre-constructed deck stuff. I actually have a list of a raw deck that I made, a raw structure deck that I made. And Noble Knights, they got a whole set and a rarity. It's incredible. I think Blue Eyes probably is I think I'm like over piping it. It is just very simple. I mean, I don't think it's bad. I'm not saying it's like a bad tier, but one of Raw can, if Raw cannot be special summoned because Konami had playing it. Well, it could, but it would just be destroyed at the end of the turn, right? Or just cannot be special summoned. Was it the other God cards that were just destroyed? Hmm. Well, doesn't it have like support that like ignores it, or am I just like mistaken? Because I know it has like a lot of support. Like I have a lot of the raw stuff. I mean, there's Immortal Phoenix that ignores summoning conditions. Yeah, so it has stuff that like ignores it. Hey Cheshire, what's up? What's going on? Yeah, eventually. I mean, normal Konami, they're usually scared of what certain cards might be capable of, which is funny because like the in the manga, the whole strategy that Merrick had for Raw was sending it to the graveyard and special summoning it each turn. Like that was the whole gimmick of the card. Well, it wasn't him like getting out from the deck; it was that he could just get out whenever he wanted. Forbidden Crown's already getting a reprint? Really? I mean, you could argue Slifer just because like the attack point thing, but then it also has like that summon effect, which is kind of crazy. Because I did pick up last year the Slifer and Obelisk structure decks, and they have like really cool stuff. And my raw deck that I made is kind of like an amalgamation stuff. When are we getting Harakti? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. I'm thinking like where I want to place treasure format. For me, it's like C or D. I think it's kind of one of like the worst formats. I think there's still like just base Yu-Gi-Oh fun you can have with it, but it leaves little room for experimentation, just given how nutty the meta is when it adds just those big power cards, and it's kind of like LOB in that regard, right? Where there's like there's clear like good strategies over others, but certain cards kind of kill fun like in a much heavier way than something like Yu Kyber Range would do. I don't think there's any F tier formats. Sphere mode's so good. So good. The list of cards I have to buy are only original print, or if the original print are too expensive, I go for a reprinted version. Critters MRD era, yeah, it's Metal Raiders. Yeah, I think it just I don't know. I've my own ideology on like prints I want. Like I don't care for like first ed everything, but depends on like availability, depends on rarity, depends on what I'm trying to make, depends on pricing. Secret Barrel Hollow, that would be cool. We need more Pac-Man hollows. Like that's Lakuta. Just give me a super rare of that. Come on. Like they're still printing those swarm cards. Yakugira, yeah. A lot of cards. Where do we think Chaos? Yeah. Pardon me. Real quick. I will be right back. I'll be right back. I need to run to the bathroom, but give me like 3 minutes. All right, I'm back. Been like what, like a minute maybe. Okay, yeah. Where do we think chaos format should go? Hey, Fine Gamer, what's up? I mean, you're looking at the list currently. We're ranking all the Duel Monsters era formats, TCG only, everything from LOB to Warrior formats. Um, Main thing is just like enjoyment factor, really. You know, like is it a good format or is it a not good format? Yeah, we're not basing this off of just power. This is just like generally like is it good? Yeah, because it feels like a format that should be high up, but like I feel like when you play it is kind of hard, especially for any lower tier decks. I mean, fun factor. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's essentially it's like what are like the best formats, right? Yeah, I saw the counter fairy. I kind of want to need to pick up some of that stuff. I've been slowly picking up some perfect circle related decks, even though like I honestly barely play RL. So like, why do I even pick up cards anymore? Lately, they've all just been for like deck profile videos, but I might switch those to a more digital format. But I do enjoy seeing like all the different kind of decks win PC stuff. It's really exciting to see just that format be pushed more and more. Cause that's definitely like my top five favorite formats for sure. Oh, nice super quant stuff. Is there a green super quant? Is that the wind one? They did recently reprint Grand Pulse and Secret Rare. That was really cool. Yeah, Volcanic's been like really on a rampage. I haven't seen too much from Gravekeeper and Cold Wave Monarchs. I want to see more wind stuff. That's all a little bit of play a while back. I think Joey Pegasus is probably one of the worst formats of this. Yeah, GK doesn't get that much support, which is kind of wild. Like Soul Fusion was the last big support it got. Even that was like okay. Yeah, Joey Pegasus is essentially Android, but they added Feather Duster, uh, Sinister Serpent, and Graceful Charity, which really sped it up and took a lot of like the skill away from it and just added just kind of worse cards. It might is this it might be the worst one. I mean, GKs are one of my favorite archetypes. Like I would argue they are my favorite archetype. So went to an event called Riverwalk Anime in San Antonio. How was that? What was that about? Was that with the Power Rangers in it? So angry on this thing. Yeah, Joey Pegasus is just it's really just not a fun format, especially with Graceful at two. Like GKs technically are kind of always around because Negra Valley is such a good floodgate, but like at this point you could just run it without playing Gravekeepers. Like they really haven't gotten any good support. I think the last card we got was what Gravekeeper's Inscription, and that's not even really Gravekeeper support. Like they have good stuff, right? Imperial Tombs is really good. Hidden Valleys is the Hidden Valley Ranch is really good. Pop culture in general, mainly anime voice actors. Oh, nice. Yeah, I haven't been to a convention in quite a while, and I really would like to go to one. It's because Necro Valley was such a ahead of its time card, and its like blanket effect is usually just really good, especially as the game has progressed to incorporate more stuff that Gravekeeper stops specifically. Like I'm surprised we haven't got more Floodgate fields, like having like a Droll and Lockbird kind of thing, right? Like this field spell prevents adding cards from deck to the hand type of like real annoying Mystic Mind set rotation type stuff. But I do like the GKs. Like whenever I see like a GK video on YouTube, I'm immediately watching it. I mean, had this Toon Legacy been getting better reception, I would probably do like a GK Legacy. But it's not doing great in views, unfortunately. DM Era not have many field cards that were good. Yeah, it had like Legendary Ocean, Necro Valley. I mean, you could technically argue the attribute ones were decent in like their own kind of regards. Right, like 500 attack is a good um, power up for like certain cards. Other than that, I mean, I guess Fusion Gate does technically enable certain decks, certain formats, right? Like that's where you get the like Fusion Turbo, like return kind of decks, like the Dimension Fusion kind of stuff. Um, there should be one that just reduces levels, like a cost down one. But those are the only ones that come to mind. I mean, I guess there's like City in the Sky and Pandemonium that lets you use certain things, but I won't say those are good inherently. It's been quite a while for GK stuff. It's a little bit of a shame. Although it does keep my Gravekeeper side history video relevant that I made a while ago when I did 2 of those videos. Yeah, I think generally like field spells were decent enough in like DM era in terms of what they were designed for before they became essentially just continuous spells. I think Chaos. I want to put Chaos in D just because there is a lure to just the crazy power in it. And I feel like people are going to complain if I put it too low. Convulsion Nature is kind of wacky. One of the wackiest cards. Like I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to put it in D. I could see like bottom of D or somewhere in the C tier or bottom of B. Did I say D? Maybe bottom of B at like the highest. But I can also see it putting like in the D tier. Then it's like, does it belong in C tier? I don't know. Like it is one of the most memorable formats. But that's not necessarily for a good reason, right? Like if I look at the recent like there is something fun to play with Chaos Emperor Dragon, And like all the busted cards. Like it's a very unique format that you don't really see in early Yu-Gi-Oh, like almost ever, which might be worth something. I'm not super familiar with like Snake Eyes stuff. I know that's like more recent stuff. As Firewall, I don't think so. I think people give CED more lenience because it's in a crazy set where like all the cards were still available and crazy. Whereas like the Firewall Gumblar loop, like it was an unintended loop, and Konami just never addressed it for a very long time. Like annoyingly so. Like I don't know what like the results are for those. Yeah, 2018 is definitely one of the worst years. But like 2019, huge improvement. And they eventually would hit Gumblar and Firewall and funnily enough, CED would also return with the errata version. I think at the beginning of 2019, I think. Zoo format, I talked about this in my Zoo format video. Dragon Link was like early 2020, yeah. I guess technically like 2019, it was around then too, but it kind of evolved in many different forms. Zoo, like I talked about this in my Zoo format video. I think it's overhated. There's definitely an argument for it. I think there's definitely more of an argument for the like Link Zoo format, right? When Reigns just started and we essentially just got Mrs. Radiant, which was clearly made to make zoos better. But I think if you look at the general Zodiac era, it was just helping a lot of other decks do stuff. Like, sure, it had its own game plan for things. I think just when they added links, that kind of highlighted a lot of issues with links, but also just like the format direction. Spiral, yeah, very very oppressive time. Why was you linking a thing? Freaking double helix, just one card. Chaos format's just weird. Chaos format's just really weird. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I mean, I definitely played around that time. Just like the loops and crap they would get you in. Especially when they got Link Karibo. It's like, oh, you think they got hit? Nah, here's just another Link 1. Blue Eye Shiny in your V-Train? Yeah, why not? I mean, we got not a retrain, but I guess kind of similarly, we got Blue Eyes Jet. But like a Blue Eye Shining Ultimate Dragon? That would be cool. Or a Shining Spirit Dragon? That would be cool too. I think Imperial is like a lot of fun. That's Pharaoh's Servant. I think Imperial is kind of underrated from like all the gameplay I've seen of it, and also just I named it. It is interesting to look back at some of these formats, like the ones that I like kicked off the names for. Like not many, honestly. I think it was just Joey Pegasus, Fiber, and Imperial. It was those three I like penned the names for. There's other ones I originally gave names, but the community just kind of changed it, which is fine. I don't care. But these two were the ones that I like, because originally this was called like there were like two Android formats. Like this was like the original Android format at one point. Um, but then it got changed, and then there was like Android One. But then there was, I think it's just like May Android, and I was like, why don't we just call it Joy Pegasus because this is Yugi Kaiba? And they're like, yeah, that makes sense. I wonder if we get a 100,000 dragon, maybe. Blue Eyes Fusion's above the 4,500. I mean, maybe you get like, hey, maybe we'll get. I mean, there is Dragon Master Knight. That is a Blue Eyes Fusion with 5k attack. Yeah, 10,000 dragon. That was the That was the effect retrain of 1,000 dragon, right? Yeah, Dragon Master Magia. Yeah. You got to use a big stick. Hmm. Oh, yeah, I was looking at Imperial. Yeah, I think Imperial is a lot of fun. It is kind of like a weird extension of Treasure format, right? Yeah, like one more set, but the decks still kind of look similarly, right? They're all kind of tomato control. But you just get a little more cards, right? You get Imperial Order, Call the Haunted, Goblin Attack Force, Jinzo. Kind of get more of these like kind of nutty cards in it. Because Fair Servant's very underrated nutty set. Oh, it's 10k, like, was that one of the prize card ones? I don't know. Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't got like a new. Well, we got the 5-headed Link Dragon. What was it called? Like the Link one of that card. Yeah, I feel like Imperial. I think it's better than Treasure. So put it there. Mech is just always kind of the weird one because it is definitely one of the more underexplored formats for sure. Android goes up to Labyrinth of Nightmare, whereas Imperial, it's Pharaoh's Servant, and also includes just like a couple like smaller side sets. I can see where you think that because it's like Jinzo and it's called Android format, but Android is the Labyrinth of Nightmare format, whereas Imperial is Pharaoh's Servant. Yeah, right. You would think so. I mean, that's just the names that stuck to it. I mean, honestly, if you want to call it anything like Android format, probably be like I don't know, Gemini format, Kaiku format, Bazoo format. Like one of those three cards that the format is really like based around. It's because there wasn't really a Pharaoh Servant format for a while. Um, until I started like really like focusing in on a lot of these like lists and like set formats and stuff like that. And then the communities out and about started actually like doing more testing and whatnot. There's a lot of cards that need reprints. And on my Patreon, each year I do a little reprint wish list video. So if you're part of my Patreon, you can check that out. Yeah, LON very weak set, but I mean the big thing that made it such a the format the way it is because of the incorrect translations. Like if it wasn't for that, then like the three would be way different. The big three. Jaugen did see play in the OCG though. Not immediately on release, but around when they got last turn. Fiber format's kind of a weird one. It's essentially just worse Yada because you don't get any of the Pharaonic Guardian stuff. Mecha format is just like I think mecha format's throwing me off. I think because that is kind of like the odd format out. Because all the other ones are based off of a list with the asterisk with blue eyes. So what if we just don't include mecha format? Keep it more pure. More pure. Which Neospatian monster was controversial? Are you asking me, or is this like a trick question? What's the difference between vampire and warrior? Vampire format is Dark Crisis, and warrior format is includes Soul of the Duelist and Rise of Destiny. Vampire format is kind of fun. That was when I because that was when there was like nothing about it, and then I remember like in this group I was in, this like real retro Yu-Gi-Oh group like years ago. I was like asking about it, and then like people started like playing it. Uh, so like I'm a little nostalgic in that regard. Also, Skull Drain was weird on release too. Asking everyone. Neospatian. I mean, I guess do you want to technically count Air Neos because it's a fusion of one? I mean, there's like Aqua Dolphin saw play. That's I guess people talking about that. Dark Crisis is kind of an interesting set. Definitely not the best set. I do have a like a set ranking in the works. Like the sets usually have like certain competitive, like you could definitely see the turn for more competitive oriented stuff by I would say Pharaoh's Servant. If you're just based off like secret rares, right? Because beforehand they were more anime stuff like Thousand Dragon, Blue Eyes Tune, that type of deal. But then by Pharaoh's Servant now we got Imperial Order and Jinzo, and then you extend that to let's go to like Pharaonic Guardian with Lava Golem and Ring of Destruction. Yeah, Warrior format is pre Flaming Eternity. Yeah, Fiber format. It is just worse Yada. Because the problem is, like, it's easy to say, like, oh, it's just worse this format, but then it's like, you don't want to put the formats right next to it. Like, there's a reason why people like Yada over Fiber, right? And no mind control. Dark Crisis, the Ancient Sanctuary. I mean, essentially, it's just Dark Crisis, IOC, and AST, right? Because I feel like Fiber is probably somewhere like here, where it's like why, like now it doesn't feel like there's a lot of reason to play it over like Yada format. Uh, it was Arenius. See that's what I said. That's what I said originally. I feel like Imperial has a lot of fun in it. Where it kind of has like its own flavor compared to like the worst version of it, you could argue. And it's it's different than Android format. Whereas Fiber format just kind of feels like it feels a little redundant. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's tomato control just kind of there was a tomato overgrowth for quite a while in Yu-Gi-Oh. So I kind of want to put it there. Like I don't think it's like inherently bad or anything like that. I don't think it's as like annoying as like some of these formats can be. Or Blue Eyes is more of like a because of its simplistic nature, but like Joey Pegasus and Treasure, I think are just more like annoying to play. Dude, I love tomato soup. Definitely like top two soups is like tomato soup's up there. Give me a good tomato soup. Oh boy. Hey, the Eight Saviors. What's up? Seeing out form in S here is great to see. All time favorite format. It's really good. That's why I had a tournament. Yada lives. Very good format. Should see more play. Also, I think this is the first list I'm doing that is actually like in order and not just throwing it like in a tier. If anyone's wondering, I am trying to be like specific about these. Trading a Lily for Yada. I mean, makes sense. I wouldn't blame you for doing that. Yeah, I think for the time being, we're going to leave Mecha off of the list and keep it more pure. A chaos deck, which is why it makes sense. Although you could argue, Lily can clear Chaos Emperor Dragon in certain game states, anyways. Chaos is so like the weird one. It does feel like since we're slowly throwing these up on here, getting a better idea of where I want to put these. Also, I am liking this. I'm thinking next stream we'll probably do the GX era sets. Lily's a good despair killer. Lily just kills a lot of things. But Yada obviously has its own use. Like I feel like Amsterdam format it's kind of similar to Fiber format where it's kind of like redundant, but it's not like because like Ancient Sanctuary really doesn't add much to the meta. Despair from the Dark was a pretty cool card. Kind of wish I saw a little more experimentation in GOAT format, but I understand. Yeah, I definitely feel like D tier, like those are the formats that you probably don't want to play. Even I do have a soft spot for LOB. Yeah, like there are definitely cards that ASC had that was good, but just in the face of chaos, like a chaos meta, it's not really doing much. Like, we'd see way more impact in warrior format afterwards. I don't know. I think LB is just it's simplistic fun though. Like that's what I like about it. It's kind of how I feel with like Yugi Kaiba or like certain formats. That if you have a gentleman's agreement, it's a fascinating thing. But I don't know. It's like it's harder for me to say like, oh, it's just like it's a really good format, right? But like, is it better than treasure format? Yeah, I mean, again, it's how do you compare something so simple to a format that has more issues, but it's because also it has like more cards that create more things in it, more like dynamic gameplay, technically speaking, comparatively. It's like scientist format. I think that's considered to be a bad format. Yeah, Magician's Force because you got magical scientists. Yeah, mad scientist OTK. You got three magical scientists. That seems pretty toxic. The most broken monster in Yu-Gi-Oh, you say? Yeah, scientist control. Yeah, I would probably put scientists in like D tier, I think. No hand trap, GG. No Karibo. Is it the worst format though? It is kind of like the big annoying like OTK format. You just get, turtle and like yeah, like life points do matter. Does anyone know how old rares used to look? You mean just with the silver text? There were also technically common rares, and those were just looked like commons. Um, yeah, I think scientist is the worst format of the bunch. It's just the scientist is just so dumb, really. Like at least Joey Pegasus is just a faster Android format, which is like really annoying in advantages, but at least it doesn't have that OTK. Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of understand why they moved rares. I mean, like, we get more high rarity stuff. Though, I do still like supers and ultras and stuff. But I don't really care about rares too much. Like, if it's the highest rarity of something, sure. But, like, it's just the name. Like, I can understand if you like it. And, of course, I like to keep all the rarities for rarity's sake. But rarities kind of come and go. Like, I'm sure it'll come back at some point. Famous last words. Yeah, vampire format is kind of an interesting one. Though you do get Butterfly Dagger Elma, but Scientist is limited. Uh, I think in this format, Skill Drain works like its original way, where it also like stops cost. Yeah, Warrior Dex is kind of the meta. I mean, Udi was kind of working through a lot. Like, was Butterfly Dagger Elma just not like a fact? I'm looking at like top decks. And it's like all just warrior decks. Because the Butterfly Dagger Elmo loop would have been active, right? Would you rank the starter and structure decks? Uh, it's kind of hard to say just because each year, right, the power rises for the decks. So I feel like it might be kind of hard to judge, like the entire deck compared to like, a 2007 deck compared to a 2002 deck. Like there's the starter decks and structure decks, and those are very different kind of ideas of what they're going for. It's like comparing core sets with, like, let's say Magic Ruler versus Tournament Pack 2. So there's some zombie stuff, some Archfiend stuff. I mean, like maybe like the worldwide structure decks, you could argue could see a list at some point. Yeah, there's still technically a scientist FTK, but it's harder to get into. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything with Butterfly Dagger Elma on like Format Library. Is it just like a community ban thing? I don't know like too terribly much about it because I haven't played Vampire format in a while. But like at least from my experience, like it's a fun format, but it's kind of like an okay one. And Zombie Madness was really good for its time. Vampire, I kind of want to put like here. Like it's definitely an okay format. It has like its spice. But I don't see like much more than just like, yeah, it's a format you can play and you can have fun with it, but maybe just not like higher levels. Which leaves us with Chaos. Blaze has some good. I mean, the 2005 decks had just really good reprints in general, like both that and Fear from the Deep. Fear from the Deep is really good. But a lot of those structure decks just gave you good reprints, which are definitely worth it. And a lot of them like shared reprints, to be fair. Gatling Dragon needs a reprint. Do you know what I would like? A super rare Musician King. Which leaves us with Chaos format. Chaos format, the constant weird one. Like it definitely had like a unique identity, which does come across stronger than a lot of other formats, which I appreciate with it. And there's definitely like a fun to be had. I mean, it is chaos format, right? It's all about the just the chaotic nature of it. So I don't think it's a D tier format. Caius was really good, for sure. The Realm of the Emperor was that the deck? How would I compare it to stuff from like B or C? Dark Emperor. Okay. Right, right. Hmm. Oh gosh, this is a tough one. I feel like I need more discussion with this chaos format. Like I'm looking at deck lists, just trying to see if I get like anything that kind of vibes me one direction or another. Like I know the decks of the format, I know how it plays. But it's such like a very non-DM era style of Yu-Gi-Oh. I liked Invincible Fortress. I thought it was a cool concept. I think Exile was like a really cool boss monster. I feel that Chaos might be B tier, so I'm leaning at. Yeah, I think a lot of the structure decks were really fun. I think a lot of them still continue to be fun as well. Just as like pick up and play type of stuff. You know, we got Crystal Beasts and the God decks and trap tricks and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, Chaos it oh gosh, it's really yeah. I mean, at least Crystal Beasts got like good support when it did. Like people were trying it out and like when you got more of the when the deck came out, we got the Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon. In the beforehand we got like stuff like Crystal Bond and Conclave. Even like the variants with the dark Crystal Beasts. It's pretty cool. But yeah, definitely like some new cards would be great. They're even like good in Speed Duel too, which was cool. With Crystal Raigeki. I mean, Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon is really good. Zenith. Definitely like needed for the deck. Chaos format. Gosh. I'm thinking B tier. Like, I think the chaotic nature is just like it's part of like what it is. It's not like inherently bad. The treasure is just kind of annoying. And all the stuff in C tiers are kind of just worse versions of other formats. Like Imperial is just kind of like a worse Android. Fiber's worse Yada, Amsterdam's worse Chaos. And I think it's Vampire is just kind of forgettable in the grand scheme of things. Like you could argue Vampire is just a worse warrior. If we're throwing these down as like essentially just, I mean, Joey Pegasus is worse Android as well, but it's also like a way worse version of it. Whereas I don't think any of these are like way worse versions of their later formats or like hovering formats. Let me look at a vampire format again. Because vampire is like right before IOC, so it's like the last wholesome format, you could say. But even that, like, is it just kind of like a worse Yada? I mean, you got the DD Warrior ladies, you get Gravekeeper Spies, you get Tribe and Breaker now, which do stuff. You got everything essentially from just Magician's Force didn't really add much, right? It added Breaker, added tribe, and Dark Crisis added DD Warrior Lady, Sakuretsu armor. Like, I feel like I'm kind of liking it to Imperial format, where I think the gameplay is fun, but it didn't add like too much to really spice things up like a ton. So I kind of want to do this. That's what I'm thinking. Where I do have legitimate fun with Yukaiba and Android format. Chaos format, I think it is possible, but it can be rough, just as much as Android and Yukaiba can also be rough. Whereas Vampire format, it just feels like a small upgrade compared to Yada, kind of like how Imperial just kind of feels like a small upgrade to Treasure format. And Fiber is just a slight downgrade from Yada. Amsterdam's a neutral push of Chaos. I'm liking this. If I had to include Mecha format, it'd probably be somewhere in the C tier, if I'm being honest. Maybe D tier, right? Might be like around Blue Eyes, but I'm just, for the sake of like keeping this kind of pure to like more distinct formats. So here's what I have. Worst format, Scientist format. Scientist OTK is a really toxic deck. It's not really fun when you play against it, and it just kind of like sours the whole format. Joey Pegasus, also in D tier. It's Android format with just cards that make the game less fun to play, essentially. Right? You get Graceful Charity and Sinister Serpent. And the format's just better without those. Blue Eyes, pre-list, so it has some like fun stuff with it, but it is very simple. It is very basic. There's only so much fun you can get out of it, but you can get fun out of it. But again, only so much. Treasure format. The decks are solid, but the additional power cards don't really help the game in a positive way. It just makes things more cumbersome to play against. And those I say like are the D tier stuff, like the decks or the formats that aren't. You could skip if you're going through like the formats if we're being honest, right? If you want to play them for historical accuracy's sake, play them, but they're better formats. In the C tier, we got Amsterdam format, which is essentially the Ancient Sanctuary format. Ancient Sanctuary just didn't really do much in the grand scheme of things, so it's kind of like it's there because the set came out, but you're probably just gonna like skip over it. Like, it technically adds more to the card pool, so it is a net positive, but very slightly. Fiber format, Legacy of Darkness stuff, Fiber Jar, Yatagarasu, just missing that extra oomph that Pharaoh's that it's missing that extra oomph that Pharaonic Guardian gave Yada format, and also the additional erratas for the cards that kind of also helped that format be a bit more solid in its gameplay. Imperial format, it's Pharaoh's Servant. Fun stuff in it, definitely improvement from Treasure in terms of the list and the new cards added. But Jinzo Imperial Order shutting off entire card types can be kind of annoying. And Tomato Control just kind of pesters around. Vampire formats, the last real crazy format in terms of a chaos stuff. Good warrior metagame for stuff. Vampire Lord and some other tech stuff can be kind of fun. But it is a format in between just bigger formats. So that's kind of C tier. They're the formats that they are net positive of what came before, but it's just kind of it's not that much. Then you go into B tier. We have Chaos formats, which is kind of like the prime 2004 format, the one that created a ban list because the cards were, while not like a ton of power cards, they were really powerful cards. And it made for a very unique and interesting gameplay in a way that wasn't seen beforehand. Uh, it was annoying when games could end like super quick, that's for sure. So it's the kind of format that is worth trying out. Just you got to be a little careful. Android format has a really interesting rock paper scissors style of gameplay with it. Even though the decks are very samey, kind of like chaos format, it has a good chess like structure to it, and that's how I kind of feel like with the B tier in general. Which the final one that is Yuki Kaiba, where it does have its issues for sure. But if you play certain games with it, you can have a ton of fun just kind of knowing what you're playing against, knowing how to counter certain things. It's a very knowledge heavy metagame, which I really like about it. Is just stall kind of kills it. But I do really like the like vanilla beat kind of chess like gameplay you get from that. And then A tier is just warrior format. It's like a weird proto goat. You're missing two sets, but the balance is a little bit different. You're allowed certain different cards, so it's like an interesting what if scenario. By this point, they cut out a lot of the annoying chaos stuff, so you still have power cards to use, but it does feel a bit more modern than the formats beforehand. So A tier is just like it's a straight up good format all around, I would argue. Even though you could see certain issues with it that would kind of change and go, but you could also view that as just a transition of power, like a reshuffling of power. Then S tier, which formats you definitely got to play because they're really good. You got Critter format, which is Metal Raiders. A lot of fun power decks that are relatively balanced when played against each other. It has a really good card pool, very minimal, but I think it's a very humble card pool with enough in there to have some fun with it, to have some spice with it. But ultimately, the gameplay is important, and I think it has really good gameplay. And then Yada format, which I think is the best format of the DM era Yu-Gi-Oh! 2003 Worlds. Yeah, there is Yada Garasu, but it really doesn't define the kind of gameplay you would have from it. There's a lot of good cards, a lot of different kinds of decks you can mess around with, all with a reasonable level of power. Different ways to win, and it does incentivize resource management more than a lot of other formats. And it does fix the erratas of the Android trio beaters, and includes just good culmination of sets up to Front Gardening without breaking the game. So very fantastic sets all around. So yeah. Hope you all enjoyed this video, this live stream, or however you're watching this, however you're consuming the content here. This was a lot of fun. Won't be around next week. I'll be busy on Wednesday, but possibly the week after that. We'll see what we do. It might be Series 5. It might be GX formats. I'm leaning towards GX formats, so hope you'll be there. And until I'll catch y'all next time, have a nice day, have a wonderful day even, and duel on, passionate duelists.